It's deja vu at NASA. Artemis 2 is delayed to early March thanks to a familiar foe, a hydrogen leak, the same glitch that stalled Artemis 1 3 years ago. We're breaking down why this persistent ghost in the machine is back and what it means for the crew. That and more on this week's episode of Astrox Radio. NASA had 3 years to fix fuel leaks on its Artemis moon rocket. Why are they still happening? These issues sound very familiar, as I said in the intro. NASA was forced to end a critical fueling test of its giant Artemis 2 rocket early in the wee hours of Tuesday, delaying its mission to launch astronauts around the moon by at least a month. Now that a new day has dawned on the big orange launch vehicle, the space agency is attempting to shed some light on what exactly went wrong, and a lot of what it's saying sounds familiar. The fueling test for NASA's Artemis 2 Space Launch System rocket began late Saturday, 31st January, and ran until Tuesday morning. It's called a wet dress rehearsal, where it's a test to put the SLS launch vehicle and ground teams through a simulated countdown clock to fully power on and fuel the rocket with the more than 700,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen it needs to get off the ground. The reason this sounds familiar is because 3 years ago, when there was Artemis 1, the SLS rocket had experienced hydrogen leaks in the same location during its wet dress rehearsal, like what's happening in Artemis 2 right now. Those leaks had resulted in 3 separate rollbacks to NASA's cavernous vehicle assembly building over the course of 6 months before Artemis 1 would finally launch. If you didn't know already, Artemis 1 got delayed significantly from when it was first scheduled to when it actually launched. And as some foundational knowledge, Artemis 1 launched in November 2022 and flew an uncrewed Orion spacecraft on a month-long mission to lunar orbit and back. With Artemis 2, NASA will test Orion's ability to sustain astronauts in deep space. NASA astronauts Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, and Christina Cook, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen, who ride aboard Orion on a 10-day mission around the far side of the moon. The flight will qualify the spacecraft systems for Artemis 3, which NASA is planning as a mission to land astronauts back on the lunar surface. The wet dress rehearsal was on Pad 39B at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Teams had to stop loading LH2 into the SLS core stage twice to deal with leaks, but they managed to troubleshoot the issue in relatively short order and top up the rocket's enormous tanks. The tanking then was the trickiest part of the Artemis 2 wet dress rehearsal, a 2-day-long practice run through the operations that would precede an actual launch. What I didn't find surprising was that leaks sprang up during the LH2 loading, given how small the molecule is. It can slip through the tiniest of cracks, and history is a guide here as well. Like I said before, the Artemis 1 launch campaign was delayed repeatedly by LH2 leaks and other issues. You may be asking, what is LH2? LH2 stands for liquid hydrogen, the cryogenic liquid state of a molecular hydrogen stored at extremely low temperatures, around minus 253 degrees Celsius. It's a highly efficient, high energy density, and clean fuel commonly used in rocket propulsion and emerging aviation technologies. Its high density allows for compact storage compared to gaseous hydrogen. As we know, the moon mission is now in early March, but if it gets delayed again, the next launch window is in early April, and then so on, as they can't just have it. Even if they can fix this issue within about 2 or 3 weeks, they need the moon's position to be according to their plans. Quoted, everyone's aware of some of the challenges with the hydrogen tanking from Artemis 1, and we had made some changes, which Lori Glaze, acting associate administrator for NASA's Exploration Systems Development Mission Director, had said in a news conference after the rehearsal. Continued quoted, the fact we got to full tanking yesterday on the first try was a tremendous success, and we gathered an enormous amount of data on the processes and how we want to go forward with that in the future. So we first knew that possible launch dates were February 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th, and 11th. Now the March 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 11th. But then if it gets pushed back again all the way to April, it'll be either April 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, or 30th. In the upcoming weeks to this wet dress rehearsal, the astronauts were put in quarantine so that they don't get sick before their mission. But now they've been released from quarantine and will head back in 2 weeks before the new launch date. The NASA engineers will spend a month trying to fix a leak on the tarmac before the next launch window opens in March. From what I've seen from NASA before and SLS in general, the whole Space Launch System program, Artemis program, I think that it'll be delayed again to April. I don't think it'll be delayed further, but it'll be delayed to April and it'll launch in April. And that's it. So now that we've seen this interesting news that came up this week about the Artemis 2 moon mission being delayed to March and what you need to know, now we can transition to what upcoming launches are happening. On Wednesday, there will be an unknown payload launched by China rocket on Jilong 3 from Heiyang Oriental Spaceport, China. After that, there will be the SpaceX Crew 12 launch on Wednesday using Falcon 9 Block 5, launched by SpaceX obviously as its season name. It will be launching from Cape Canaveral in Florida. After that, on Wednesday again, there will be Starlink Group 17-34 launching from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Then, there will be a ULA launch, USSF-87, which will be launching on Vulcan VC4S on Thursday. Then, there will be a Roscosmos launch, Electro-LN-5, which will be on the Proton-M/DM-3 rocket from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on Thursday. Then, on February 13th, there will be an Amazon LEO launch, LE-01, on Ariane 64 from Arianespace from Guyana Space Center in French Guiana, France. It will be on February 13th. On February 14th, there will be a launch from Firefly Aerospace, Stairway to 7. It will be on Alpha Block 1 and it will be from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Finally, after that, there will be Starlink Group 6-103 from Cape Canaveral in Florida on February 14th on the Falcon 9 Block 5. Please keep in mind that all the dates I've said recently are all subject to change. So anything I've said right now could be delayed 1 day, 2 days, a week, completely cancelled, or it might just launch on time. Today first, we talked about the Artemis 2 moon mission being delayed to March because of a hydrogen leak which we've seen before on Artemis 1. Then we quickly went through some upcoming launches that you can watch, including SpaceX's Crew 12, which will accommodate for the remaining only 3 astronauts on the ISS who are holding the whole burden of doing all the maintenance and science on the ISS. So that's where we wrap up for today's journey through the stars on Astrox Radio. Whether you're on Earth or light years away, we hope today's episode sparked your curiosity about the final frontier. Don't forget to follow me wherever you get your podcasts. And subscribe to me on YouTube so you never miss a launch. And remember, the universe is vast, but there's always more to explore with us. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sky and your rockets aimed high. I'm Astrox, and you've been listening to Astrox Radio. See you in the next orbit.